and we go in there and watch the movie in the theater, and then go to Pizza Hut. I remember the pizzas being like this big, the first time I got really high, and just the movie being real exciting and real funny, you know what I mean? Everything anybody said was just, I was just real into, just really focused. And um, I remember that being like the best time of my life at that time.
Yeah.
So what's going on? So I'm Jeremy. Drank for a lot of years and did drugs and stuff. So I guess I'll start it off with my childhood. Um, I don't remember a whole lot from my childhood, other than just like a lot of fighting and um, dad coming home drunk all the time. Um, I remember my first drink. I was sick. My grandma gave me like those hot toddies and stuff. Put some liquor in it with some honey and tea. I remember that because I remember she said like whiskey or something like that. But that's real vivid to me. Thanksgiving, I remember having like wine and stuff like that for Thanksgiving. So there really never was a limit or anything like that. It seemed like it to me, anyways. You know what I mean? You could always drink. Um, if you asked for it, they're not going to give you the whole bottle and stuff, let you run off in the corner and things, but they're going to give you, a glass or whatever. And I just, it just progressed from there. It seems like I moved around a whole bunch. My parents weren't together. They split up pretty much when I was first born. Um, I just came from that lifestyle, alcoholic and drug addict, lifestyle. Not on my mom's side, but my dad's side of the family. You know what I mean? My mom's side of the family, they were alcoholics, but she didn't drink. Um, so I just grew up with it, man. Just grew up around it. Um, but I also started getting more curious. I started getting a lot more curious, man. Around the time my brother started going out and venturing off and stuff, he started hooking up with people that could get alcohol. He was always talking about it, you know what I mean? And I was like, I kind of started getting interested because I want to be like my brother. He's a little older than me, so I was always wanting to try to do something to hang out with him and his friends. You know what I mean? To be on that level with him. Um, but I remember hooking up with this kid, man. He was from Texas, man. He was a real cool cat, and he was
Where were
talking
y'all
about
living?
Louisiana. We were in Louisiana, Sulphur, Louisiana. So that was, I would say that was my like when I first started like really getting into drinking, dude. I started like uh my brother brought home some peppermint schnapps one time. It was in like a little glass Coke bottle. I drank that. Um, he gave that to me. I started dipping and stuff like that. Before long, I was stealing, Mad Dog from the Circle K with my friends. We were roping up together and riding our bikes and stealing stuff from Walmarts and wherever else, we could. We weren't like selling the stuff, but we were running around with people doing all kinds of crazy stuff, vandalizing the neighborhood. I can't believe my dad never found out about this stuff because he's a pretty hardcore, rough kind of guy. You know what I mean? If he ever knew about this stuff, which probably does now.
How old were you when all this was going
I
on?
was like 12, man, like 12, 11, 12 years old. When I had that peppermint schnapps, though, I remember it. Like, I had that glass bottle. I drank damn near all of it myself. Um, I don't even remember what happened to the rest of it, 16-ounce bottle, I just remember how it made me feel like I was just invincible and I could do anything and it just made me feel invincible. Um, and I remember that feeling, you know what I mean? And I just remember wanting more. So I think that was my real first, like, good drunk, And then we started finding that Mad Dog, I started getting up enough courage to like go in the Circle K because that's before they had cameras and stuff, They wouldn't like really sweating anybody. You still like, that the real thin, the thin bottles, you could slide them right in your pants. You wouldn't even know you had it. Um, After that, it was like me and another cat, we would we would get the clerk's attention and we'd steal the whole rack off the counter with the mini fins and all that shit. We stole a whole rack, the whole rack of them, put in the backpack and drove off. I can't
Oh
believe we didn't
my.
get caught doing this stuff, man. Throwing people's bikes in the pool, you know what I mean? just vandalize the neighborhood, blocking, barricading roads off with trash cans, just crazy nonsense.
Little ruffians.
Yeah. It just progressed from there, and it seemed like after I experienced that, and my dad had his little downfall or whatever, he wanted me to do something for him, get him out of a drug test or whatever. And I wouldn't pee for him, you know what I'm saying? Because I just got this job, and another friend of mine, he had some weed or whatever, you know. We didn't even get high. It was just like a little roach or whatever. But I was kind of freaking out that if I had peed for my dad, that you know he might have popped the drug test anyway. So I didn't really you know, I mean, I got real mad at him and stuff. And then, but wasn't too long after that. My mom, I went to go live with my mom, and about that time, you know, we lived way out in the country, so it was like you go from Sulphur, Louisiana to Arkadelphia, Arkansas, and it sounds about like it is. It's way out in the woods. There's nothing to do, you know. I mean, you can just walk out in the woods and just, you know, you could hunt and fish and things like that. But as far as like getting into trouble and things, I mean, you're 13 years old, you don't have a car or nothing like that. So wasn't long before I started hooking up with people that, you know, had weed, and we would go meet up at this movie place that had a Pizza Hut right next to it, and there would be these guys that would make these runs to Hot Springs. They'd come pick stuff up and they'd come back, and so you give them like $25 and they'd come back. Well, I got so high, and we'd go in there and watch the movie in the theater, and then go to Pizza Hut. I remember the pizzas being like this big, you know, the first time I got really high, you know. And just the movie being real exciting and real funny, you know what I mean? Everything anybody said was I was just real into, you know, just really focused. And I remember that being like the best time of my life at that time, you know. It wasn't too long after that, like, I guess the guys that own this theater, they got in a fight, and it was pretty crazy. Like, me and a couple cats, we were smoking behind this building. We come back in, and this chick we knew comes out. She's like, "Hey, those guys are fighting. They were rolling down the aisle, the guys that own the place." And I go, "Really? So the concession stand's empty then, right?" so we all jumped over the counter and started taking all the candy. And man, it was we're filling our pockets full of runts and gobstoppers and all that stuff. And we got a ride out of there. We were going to go to this chick's house. I remember the cops coming up there and asking who all was at the theater, because the theater had gotten robbed or whatever. But they didn't say anything about these two guys fighting and leaving the concession stand. But you know, that was completely, I could completely rationalize that while I was talking to the cop eating candy. I was like, I don't know what happened. You know, I don't know anything about it. I wasn't even there. Ended up getting expelled from school because I had some weed in my pocket. You know what I mean? I brought it to school with me. Ended up going to another school in Hot Springs, which is cool because it was a bigger town. And started doing that, going back and forth with my mom, and I was getting up early in the morning and working at the racetrack and doing working with thoroughbreds and stuff. And so I, you know, sifted through their room and found some, they were called 357 Magnums. So they got filled with ephedrine, you know what I mean? So I was at the point where I would do anything. I was just curious to do anything just to get high, so I started eating them. And hell, I liked the way that made me feel too. I was completely awake, you know. I wasn't, you know, seem like I could stay up forever. Started eating them. My brother gave me a little pill keeper. I don't know why he gave it to me, but he was just like, "Here, keep your whatever in," you know. So my jacket came out of the ice for my jacket out of the car. My mom went and got it or whatever. My stepdaddy found it, and that was his stuff, and he got mad at me for it. And I'm like, you know, eventually he's yelling at me all the way home and everything. So I just completely brought up just to deflect off of me, I completely brought up some past hearsay drug use that he had. And I don't know if he did or if he did. And that's just something that, somebody told me. And he had them because, he drove a lot of hours and stuff. And it was over the counter stuff, you know what I mean? I don't know if he had a problem with it or not.
Like some mini thins or something?
Yeah.
Yellow jackets?
Basically, that's what it was like, some high powered yellow jackets or mini thins. But I still like the way it made me feel. I mean, there's some powerful stuff on the market these days that, really kind of makes you feel like you are high, man. So he he tried to grab me in the truck. We almost wrecked. We're doing like 65 my mom's in between us. Stop it, So
I can imagine her doing that.
he gave us an ultimatum. We got out of the truck or whatever, and he was like, it's either him or me. That's pretty messed up, But I caused all of that. I caused that. First, she got me a place at the Green Elf Motel or Green Elf Inn or something like that. So it used to be like Al Capone's gangster guys' hideouts. Like his thugs' hideout back in the day, apparently. So I had this little apartment. Everything was going on. I had it the way I wanted it. Nothing in the refrigerator. I had my own job. I was working at what was it, Shoney's or something. It was like a block away. So I was doing that and going to school at this new place. But I remember the first night that I stayed there by myself. I could not wait to leave that apartment to go find whatever I was looking for. And I didn't even know what the hell I was looking for. I was just looking for something to get out of myself, or just, I was wanting to be around somebody or do something. And I knew right where to go because my brother had already been living there for a number of years already. And downtown Hot Springs, there's a big park right downtown. That's where everybody's at and everything's at. So it came down to it where, she let me go live with this school teacher, so I went to go live with this school teacher in Hot Springs. She used to teach at this school. And
hey, Mrs. Robinson.
Right. Yeah. Well, she was kind of hot, but I wasn't into older women then, you know what I mean? So I experienced that a little bit later on. But I managed to stay working and going to school all the way through high school. I have no idea how I did that. I have no idea how I graduated either, so that's beyond me. Some days I didn't even go to school, so it's basically like an alternative school. What you don't do one day, you just make up the other day, Had me a little girlfriend running around. We stayed together for 3-4 years. But she couldn't stand my drug use, you know what I mean? And I didn't see a problem in it. I just thought she was just just complaining all the time.
Party pooper.
Yeah, right. Crimping my style. Right? Let's see. After that, it was just a big blur, man. I mean, I had people at work I could get drugs from, my brother's friends, you know what I mean? There was a big indictment, I guess, my brother had got involved with, and he had stolen some stuff and roped me into it. My brother's on the run. He used my ID and everything to get out of trouble, and I had nothing to do with that. I knew about it, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you're like, you can't just tell on your brother, but
right.
He's going to get himself in trouble eventually anyway. So, after that, when I graduated, I had wrecked a car. It was right around the time I was getting ready to graduate. These people, my girlfriend's friends, grandparents, asked me to watch their house for them. And I remember my principal coming and asking me, because it's a real small, like I said, real small school, alternative school. She was like, "Hey, they're trying to get in touch with you. Would you mind watching their house for them?" Because at that point, I seemed to be pretty responsible. I don't know how people saw that in me, but and I feel real bad about this crap, man. I watched their house for them, but the first thing I thought about was, I'm going to have a house party, you know what I mean? I'm going to call as many people as I know, and they're going to come over. Man, there was people puking in the bushes. There was outside. We were taking the boat out. There's people having sex in the water out in the lake, you know. I mean, it was just it was mess, man.
Hey.
The neighbors were calling, like, you know what I mean, like, what's going on over there? And I'm like, I just have a couple friends over, you know. I'm watching this house from, my girlfriend's friend's grandparents, and they completely knew what was up, and they were like, we're gonna call them and let them know what's going on. I was like, well, there's nothing really going on. Just try to completely lie. Everything that came out of my mouth was just a lie. Um, and I was able to get in bars at that age too, because I don't know. It was just like the people I was hanging out with were old enough to drink, and these bars would just let us in, man, and let us drink. It was the craziest thing. At some point, I'd used my brother's ID to go into a bar with some friends of mine that I worked with. Um, but I remember leaving the bar one night, this one bar, and I was looking at this one lady that had left before us, and she was getting into a fight with somebody in the parking lot, and probably about drinking and driving. But she left. When she left the bar, she got out on the main highway. You're talking Malvern Avenue's 4-lane highway. She was on the wrong side of the road with her lights off, speeding when she left there. And I was like, look at this crazy lady, you know. So whenever I left, you know what I mean, I wanted to speed too and go down a hill, and before you know it, I wrecked the car that I was driving. I was given a car to drive while I was watching this house. These people completely, like, respected me and trusted me, and I took complete advantage of that. Um, and like I said, you know, I still feel bad about that till today. Um, so as soon as the cops came up there, I wanted to lie about it. You know, there was a dog that ran out in front of me or whatever, and well, they didn't believe that because, you know, cops can do math, you know, with skid marks, and they started to break this whole analysis down to me while I was drunk. I do remember that. Um, so I pulled my ID out. I remember pulling my ID out, and a pack of zigzags fell out whenever I pulled my ID out. So being drunk, and, you know, it's not a real good idea because you can't think about anything. You can't plan nothing real well. I ended up, I don't know what happened, man. I ended up getting jumped somewhere along the line. I probably crossed somebody, did something dumb, and got jumped. Remember kicking one of them out in the street. He got hit by a car, and um, trying to take all of them on. Couldn't do that. One of them hit me in the head with a bat. Yeah, hit me in the head with a freaking bat. Um, so after that, I didn't really slow down after that, man. I remember living in this one place there in Hot Springs where the cops would actually just come and kick the door in and pull people out, like, you know, just like, because it was just like a haven for people that were running from the law or had warrants or
just
whatever.
like a dope house or
It
something.
was it turned it was at first it was like a, you know, it was a nice place. You know, they had it done up on the inside. It was like these three there was these three people living there. It was this one guy, Marvin or something like that, and then there was like these other two girls. They were from Missouri, but I remember, like, we started kicking it there, and then I met this one guy named what is his name, Leon or something like that. But he was just a complete. I mean, to me, he seemed like an alcoholic, but uh, man, we just started having all kinds of fun, dude. And yeah, I remember before it was over with, we were doing cocaine like it was crazy, and we didn't have any heat in the house, you know what I mean, no electricity. We were trying to, like, manipulate the landlords, like, we're painting over here, you know, and same kind of deal, you know. And I don't know what it is about that town, they like to board off rooms, man. But we were knocking down walls and making rooms, and more people could come in. Hey, we got another room over here. Just no freaking schedule, no morals. I mean, it was just one day just blended into the next. I didn't have a job. I don't know how I didn't have a job. Um, and it was just, like I said, one day just kind of blended into the next, and I could see myself just slipping down this rabbit hole. Um, you know, and it came to that point where I couldn't find a job. I didn't have nothing to eat. I was going to the pantry trying to find stuff to eat. This is at 18. This is at this is early in my years, and um, I remember going to this one guy's house. Crazy Rob is what we call him, and Crazy Rob had a bunch of acid at one time, and I remember seeing him we were riding in a truck. We went to go drop some off, come back or whatever, but they were shooting coke, and I didn't shoot it. I wasn't going to do that then, so I guess did have some kind of morals, but I would snort the hell out of it. But we were doing.
Didn't we all?
You're right. Doing acid like crazy, man. I remember this guy just beating the hell out of this other guy for just no reason. He lived in the same like little trailer park or whatever, and Crazy Rob started having parties. I'd invite people over to that, man. It was just, and before that spun out, Crazy Rob just didn't, he didn't have nothing in his house. None of us had really nice things at all. If you could get the apartment, that's cool. We'll find furniture. We're gonna do what we got to make it look decent. But the coffee table be full of ashes, full of needles, whatever. You know what I mean? Empty beer bottles. It's just basically you're living one stage above a bum. That's the way I looked at it. And we thought, and that lifestyle just got real old real quick, man. You just when you look back on it now, I'm just thankful that I made it through all that and didn't die. I couldn't pay my bills. My buddy Kenny, he's telling me all this stuff. We're trying to work some moves here, trying to see what we can do. And he wasn't going to get a job. He was basically hustling me, and I was trying to hustle him. And
it's like super ineffective.
Yeah, way not efficient. It was not counterproductive at all, right? Counterproductive. Yeah. So I remember my coke dealer coming in one day, talked about, he came over there and he would sell me, he would really hook it up. So eventually he freaking, like one night we were all just partying and stuff, getting down. And like he came in with his suitcases. I was like, what are you doing, man? He's like, man, I'm tired of that girl, man. And I guess him and his baby mama or something, like they got into a fight. And he thought he was just going to move on in my place. I'm like, whoa, what's going on, cuz? And I was like, you know what? This might actually be a good idea. If he lives with me, then he can give me all the coke
stuff I want.
You know what I mean? And I'd just be like, hey, it's cool, man. You can stay here.
That's rent.
That's rent right there, baby. But my buddy Kenny actually gave him some acid or something. I wasn't even selling it then, but I think Kenny gave him some. And don't ever give your coke dealer acid, whatever you do. That's a bad move. He immediately pulled out a gun as soon as he was like, as soon as it like took effect. You know what I mean? Man, he put a gun in Kenny's face, and I'm just standing there going, "Oh God, man, he's gonna kill him!"
Oh my!
It was loaded. It was ready to go. It had one in the head and everything. It was, I thought it was a done deal. The house is full of people, man. 20 people. I've never seen people leave out of house so quick in my life. And I'm standing there going, oh, like, I'm like, man, if I run, he's gonna shoot me. So I'm just gonna stay right here too. I'm like, man, just put it down, Sydney. Just, it's cool, man. Just, you know what I mean. Let's talk about this. Whatever I gotta say, for him not to split his head open. Kenny tried to jump out the window because I got pissed off at him because he gave the acid to Sydney. He tried to jump out this big, huge window and hit it, bounced off. I kicked him out. Man, it was just crazy. It's crazy.
So how did you leave that and like move on to like the next leg of your journey?
You know what? I went to, so I said, screw this. I'm done with all this. You know what I mean? My brother was getting ready to, he had hooked up because he was on the racetrack and I stopped working at the racetrack. And he had put the idea in my head that, he was going to go to Kentucky or, he was going to go to Kentucky, go work for this horse trainer. So I'm like, man, I've never been out of state. You know what I mean? I kind of want to go out of state and see the country. You know what I mean? I'm not going to school right now, so I might as well do something. Um, Ideally, I should have stayed and probably straightened my life out and went to school, but no, that's not what I did.
Not time yet.
So there
Where
we are.
did y'all go? Lexington or
That was
Louisville?
Lexington. Yeah, no, Keeneland. So Lexington, yeah.
Okay.
So we ended up in Lexington, man, and ended up working for. I didn't work for Ronnie. I didn't work for the same horse trainer my brother worked for. I ended up working for somebody else. But just more drinking. You know what I mean? Just stayed up drinking all the time, and when you're working on the backside of a racetrack, that's all them people do, man. They just sit after work. They just sit and drink all night long. And I would go to work drunk, throwing up. It was just, God, I just remember being so hungover. I met some cool people while I was up there. Eventually, Ronnie let us move into this condo that he was staying at. So that was like we were not down here anymore, living on the backside. We were up here now. We were pimping then. So this place had everything, man. This place had seemed like it had a pool, it had all that stuff, basketball court. There was some girls that lived down the way, you know what I mean? And we were going to these. I remember going to this beer garden one night with one of my brother's friends. He's one of my friends too. He had ripped me off previously, but you know what I mean? I was going to rip him off too.
You know how that is.
Yeah.
It's just like back and forth.
Back and forth. So I remember falling down in this beer garden, getting all messed up, and we were with these chicks, man, and they were driving, you know. So we just got completely wasted. It was the first time I drank hooch. You know what I mean? Remember that stuff?
Moonshine or hooch?
Like that bottled hooch, like the orange juice and God, what was in that stuff?
I don't remember that.
You remember that song? You got the hooch.
Oh yeah.
Well, that was
the stuff.
Well, yeah,
okay.
But
I never saw
that. What that shit tastes like, or who made it, or whatever. Probably Seagram's or something like that. But I remember going and getting this cigar. It was like right outside a casino. I remember going and getting this cigar and smoking it, and falling down in this flower bed, you know, all out in the middle of this beer garden. They ended up taking us back to the apartment, and of course we didn't get lucky or anything. So.
Too drunk.
I guess so. Couldn't hold out. Man, it was just more of the same craziness. We got all these fireworks and for 4th of July, and of course I didn't plan none of that out either. I just started shooting off these big, huge fireworks. This guy was like, "Hey, you guys want to see some really cool fireworks?" And he calls us in this back room. There's these big, huge fireworks. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take that one and that one."
Kentucky's got really good fireworks. Whenever I was growing up in Ohio, like people would drive down to Kentucky to pick up fireworks and then bring them back because you can get stuff down there that you can't get in Ohio. Actually, Jeremy was working at a job in Kentucky after we got together and brought home some fireworks. Not many, but just a few.
Yeah, I brought home 3 or 4 packs, like one for the kids or whatever. Yeah. So started shooting them off, man, fireworks going underneath cars and stuff, and I had no freaking no accountability, no morals, man. Just that, and that's what my life was like. It was just I had no freaking drive to do anything else but drink. Alcohol and drugs were so a part of my life that I didn't know how to do anything else, and I couldn't think about any kind of plan that I wanted to have.
Just lost.
Yeah, completely lost in the drugs and alcohol. And I don't even think that I was really like addicted to like managing my drinking at all or anything like that. But I knew that as soon as it was time, I was ready. You know what I mean? As soon as I had money, it's like that's what we did every day. We would just go to the store and get our beer and get drunk. And even, on the way back when we hooked up with this one guy in Kentucky, and he had a van, and that's how we left Kentucky to go to Oklahoma. And ended up there and living in a hotel room, you know what I mean, trying to drink that 3-2 beer. You really can't get drunk, you know what I mean? So we were...
That stuff was still in existence whenever you were that old?
Yeah, it was 3-2 beer.
They got rid of it whenever, I don't know, whenever my mom was young.
Really?
Yeah.
Not in Oklahoma.
In Ohio, they did not have 3-2. I don't think 3-2 beer was a thing after I was, like, whenever I was born.
Yeah, in Oklahoma, apparently they have to have it because there's some kind of deal with the Native Americans and all that stuff that's there. But I remember stacking the cartons up or the cases up in the corner, not being able to get it. And that's when I started slamming speed, frequently, and doing coke. First time I ever seen somebody pass out on after slamming coke. I still didn't slam coke. Never have done that. But I'd slammed speed before.
Just speed, no big deal.
No big deal. Nothing serious.
It's better. It's fine.
Keeps you awake. I wasn't concerned about my heart dying as much as it was exploding. So, So I don't know which one's better.
It's always justification. Like anything that we're doing, we're always like trying to justify our actions or like rationalize why it's okay to do this, but it's not okay to do that.
I completely thought I was better than everybody else because I was snorting coke instead of like shooting it. You know what I mean? Right. That was lower than me.
Because snorting coke is bougie. Like smoking crack and stuff like that is like, that's like trashy. Yeah. So if you're snorting coke, then you're like in with the elite. You can pretend that you're better than other drug users. Common delusion.
Yeah. Then shortly after that, I called my mom, man, and I was like, "Hey, I'm down and out. I don't know what I'm doing here. Kind of want to go back to school." So just said whatever I had to say to get whatever I wanted to get out of the situation I was in, which was uncomfortable as all get out. Like, I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything to drink. No money for drugs.
So you were kind of hitting a little bit of a bottom.
Oh yeah, it was
getting
a bottom.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, because I didn't know how to get out of it. Like my place had been ransacked. When we got back there, somebody had pilfered through it.
Did you go to rehab?
No, I didn't go to rehab at that time. That was I decided to I was going to go back to college. I was going to do this, go back to Louisiana, get a fresh start, go back to college. And,
geographic cure.
Or go to, geographic cure and go to college and everything. So, moved in with my mom and stepdad. That didn't work out so good. I got my own place, like a few places down behind another couple barns or so. And, one little 1-bedroom place, started working. But what really did it was I had this bean bag that I was trying to unload from my car, and I found a bag of Coke. I found a bag of Coke in that bean bag, and it wasn't much. And it had rained the day before, and I had already had the bean bag in the back of the car or whatever, and I just tasted it, and that's all it took. And now I'm thinking, that's why I was so irritable, and that's why I was so like discontent with anything and everything around me, and that's why I was so mad and frustrated.
You were dry.
Because I was dry, didn't have any drugs, and I wasn't working any kind of a program or anything. And as soon as I tasted it, man, it was over with. I was trying to go back to Hot Springs, and I had my truck, you know what I mean? I had this truck I was making payments on, and I did, I was taking care of 30 horses or whatever for my mom, and I just rolled out one day and slept. It's like, I'll be back in no time. It takes 3 hours to get to Hot Springs from Shreveport. So I drive up there and got robbed. I had this stereo system in my car. Somebody, yanked it out. Me, Jamie, and Avery, and we lived in this trailer together. I started working at that strip club. It was a bar at first. Some real rough guy, he turned it into a strip club.
It's always a strip club involved.
Yeah, always. And girls there were really nice and everything. They'd come over all the time. Once they knew that we got down, so they would come over like after their shift. We would just make them feel comfortable and everything.
Sure. Real comfortable. It makes me real comfortable too.
So man, you know what, this guy, the guy that this strip club should have never even been in this, I guess it was in a residential zone or whatever, but the guy that owned it didn't think about that. But anyways, man, I got in trouble for like robbing the place above it because it was like a little one bedroom apartment above it. Real nice place, but I never even went in there. You know what I mean? The guy that owned it said go in there and go upstairs and get this like trade for Monday night football or something or Super Bowl party or whatever. And so I go up there and get it. The next thing I know, I'm getting the cops are trying to look at me because they think I vandalized it or something because the owner and the guy that lived upstairs got into an argument. Well, I don't know how the heck I got involved in it, but I still deny that. Until this day I deny it. But so they busted in our place looking for stuff. Well, the guy gave me stuff. He gave me like a mirror and everything. He's like, hey man, you want this? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So I got in trouble for that. So I guess he set me up. Basically, he was basically setting me up. And the cops were like, well, I see your cultivation farm in your room. I'm like, well, the plants were like this big. I'm like, okay, and so he's just basically just trying to work me to get me to roll on. He wanted me to roll on the guy that owned the place and the guy that owned the, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Because the strippers?
Yeah, because they're, you know what I mean? But every time the cops, we had people looking out, like the cops would come up, we'd lock the door and then they'd go and run in and, change and then go sit back down at the bar and everything. They're like, no, we still got the pole in here, but there's nobody dancing. Because I was bartending, I'm just back behind the bar, just drinking it. So eventually, my mom mentioned to me that a friend of hers was an iron worker, and he was going to, did I want a job? You know what I mean? This is a real good job or whatever. Got into that, got into iron working, and I never looked back, man. As soon as I got into iron work, I was, working on jobs. I liked it. I liked the money. You know what I mean? I liked the feeling of doing something outside and building buildings and stuff like that. I didn't know building anything from a hole in the ground whenever I first started. But eventually, after going to school and everything, and then working so many jobs, it just becomes a part of you. After that, I traveled to Oklahoma, and from there, Oklahoma. Let's see, did I go to Oklahoma first? Or did I go to Mississippi first? Yeah, it's a long story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long story.
Oklahoma, Mississippi. Yeah. What other states did you work in?
Oh man, North Carolina. Went up to Boston. So let me see here. I think I went to. Yeah, I did. I went to Oklahoma first, and went up there and started working. Same thing. Hooked up with some girl at a bar, and then dumped her for the other one because I didn't know really what I wanted, but she was closer anyways. I didn't spend as much gas, I think. And the other one was kind of like real homely looking. And
Jeremy's like 40 years old right now. So if your mother slept with an iron worker in just about any state in the United States and you're looking for your daddy, let us know because we're waiting on kids to start knocking on the door. No, but really.
Oh man. So this chick, oh man, she was something else. I really kind of screwed her over a long time ago too because she stole my car. The job was in, and I think I broke a finger or something. I wasn't wanting to work because I just wanted to hang out with her. You know what I mean? And it was cold, so I would work 2 or 3 days. What messed it up was my boss. I think I missed a week or something, or 3 or 4 days, and my boss had paid me the whole time because I was like one of his lead guys, and I completely messed that up. Just kept missing more days, and then eventually I got him to lay me off, and that was even better because then you could just draw unemployment, and I didn't care because I didn't have any bills. Well, this chick tried to rope me into like paying her bills and all this stuff. I had 2 cars at that time because I'd got a settlement, and I'd let her drive my car. I'd say she could take it, just to drive it.
Iron workers are like roughnecks. They make a bunch of money, and so girls are always looking at them like sugar daddies. So
So
it's a problem.
I went and got my car back. You know what I mean? And he's just like, just go get your car, just get in it and go. So that's what we did. We just got in it and ran. Um, Drove back as fast as we went up there. Um, Sold the car to him. So I called my dad at this point. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, I need to come on up there and work or something. Come stay. I stay with my dad for a while, and he ain't gonna let you just live there, for nothing. And then he's gonna charge you something extra because I think he's trying to work a hustle too. Um, so ended up living in North Carolina and living at my dad's and working, and got a job at the Bobcats Arena. Started working there, and things were going all right for a while. It's a new city. I liked it. It was real cool. I was meeting all kinds of people. You know what I mean? My dad had some guys working for this little business he had.
You had plenty of money to support your habit too.
Plenty of money to support my habit because I didn't have any bills. The only thing I didn't have a car payment.
Mm-hmm.
I had a phone payment, and I was paying my dad rent, and I didn't really want to come off the hip for the rent either. That was kind of cramping my style too. And I couldn't really like cut loose because I lived with him and my stepmom, so I kind of felt like I had to like walk on eggshells a little bit. I didn't like that. Went out with one of the crew members one night, and we started smoking crack and stuff like that, and we ended up smoking up all of the meat and everything, or all the money that he had made, running around Charlotte. And
because dad owned one of those like
mobile meat service,
yeah.
Smoked
like
all
deep
that
freezer
up.
in the bed of the truck kind of deals.
Yeah, smoked all that up. Well, I had a little bankroll going on because I'd saved my money. I was trying to be responsible and stuff. I could do that from time to time, and paid all that, gave that money to Rusty, and we just, I just chalked it up as a loss because I didn't want Rusty to get in trouble, and I didn't want to get in trouble. I want to go to jail, and so I just come up off the hip, and let's see here. After that, hooked up with his brother. His brother was a little bit more responsible, and his dad had got him a house and everything, and he was paying the bills on it and stuff. So I moved in with Eddie was his name, real good friend of mine, and hell, we hit it off pretty good, man. We were going out drinking all the time, and I started bringing home coke and stuff like that, and we were doing coke, and then hooked up with some moonshine. I started getting moonshine from a guy at work, and I was selling that a little bit on the side, you know what I mean? And first time I did moonshine, you didn't have to drink very much of that stuff. But then I started having some internal bleeding and stuff like that. That's when I started getting stomach issues. Stomach started hurting real bad. Couldn't drink as much anymore because I'd been running real hard since,
a young age.
16, 17 years old, real hard. Well, one night Rusty wanted me to do, I don't know, I was passed out, but I remember him calling me or something. But a friend of ours that worked at the meat shop, he had passed away. So he was with 2 chicks, and he was on all kinds of drugs and stuff. And so we all got together, and they were going to bury him in West Virginia. And we all loaded up in a van and went up there. And I didn't know him as well as the other guys did, but he was a really cool guy. Every time I talked to him. So we went to the funeral, went to the wake, got wasted, and that's where I met my son's mom. At a funeral, and that's before that movie came out. Old School. Is it Old School? Yeah, where Chaz, you know what I mean? Chaz is like the Casanova kind of guy. Well, this is way before this ever came out, So people are calling me, hey, there's Chaz, What? So met her at a funeral, man, and we hit it off, you know what I mean? Because she could drink just as much as I could. Well, I thought she could at first, but I don't know. We just hit it off because we were both drunk, I think, and weren't really using the best judgment. But I'm thankful for what we got or what we had, because I wouldn't have the son that I have now.
Yeah, we've got a beautiful little boy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Ended up making trips back and forth from Charlotte to Ohio, going and seeing her. Started trying to work in Ohio, man, but again, Ohio is one of them states I just didn't have a whole lot of like friends. You know what I mean? I didn't feel comfortable because I just came out of like something good, like a real good, like I had a couple good friends where I was at, and couple sack chases or whatever, you know what I mean? And I go to Ohio and I don't know nobody. I just know her. I'm like hanging out with her friends and her this, and I'm like, it just wasn't something that I really wanted. But I really didn't want to be a part of that, you know what I mean? But I know that I liked her at the time, but then we decided to, move in together, and before you know it, I'm paying the bills and everything, and um, it got real serious real quick. It wasn't fun anymore, I guess. But then when we go out, we would spend $400 or $500 in a night, and I'd be like, "Where'd the money go?" I didn't know that I could drink that much. That's when I started going, I don't remember drinking that. Like questioning the bartender, like, I don't know, that's not right. There's no way, because when you're drinking at the house, it's a whole lot different from drinking at the bar. It costs a little bit more. Much more.
Especially, so I always drank at the house.
Yes.
Almost always drank at the house.
Especially if you wanted to drink in the kind of bars I wanted to drink in. The ones with the little flashy lights and, on the good side of town, And of course, I was from the wrong side of town anyways, but I wanted to be on the other side. I stayed out of town for a while. I was working in West Virginia. It was a pretty good sized job. It's the last big job I really worked on at that time in 2009, 10. It was over in West Virginia, but I at that time, just way gone. Couldn't wait to get out of town because I could really do what I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it.
Whenever you were away from her.
Yeah. I didn't have anybody watching over me. But then again, you know what I mean? I could get drunk at the house whenever I wanted to too, but we just couldn't get along anyway, so it wasn't the point. I just remember feeling like empty, and not really it just felt like I just wasn't happy at all throughout any of this stuff. Never really wanted to look at myself. Or anything that I was doing, because I was just steadily building up those things that I had done in my life and everything that that was really bothering me. I didn't really want to look at anything that I did. Pissed some people off, and I remember her coming down there and seeing me one time, my ex, and she busted the window out of the front door, threw one in my lunchbox. I wouldn't give her my check. I had this big check, threw the lunchbox at the door. Our bills were behind or whatever. So first thing, I bought a brand new car. I went to go see my mom and my brother up in Boston. So I bought a brand new vehicle, and she was pretty upset about that. So let's see. Did a bunch of coke while I was up there, and I had stayed sober for like 2 weeks. I remember like I was mad because I couldn't make things work, but I didn't want to make them work anyway. And then I was pissed off at myself because I didn't want to drink anymore, because I wanted to prove that I didn't need to drink. So I stayed sober for like 2 weeks or something, and as soon as somebody broke out the alcohol, man, we were sitting up doing coke and stuff, but I was thirsty. And I wasn't thirsty for really alcohol, but it was there. And you know what? I had been sober for a couple of weeks.
Right.
There's probably not a big deal.
It's a long time.
Yeah, that's
a long time.
That's a long time. And I wanted to see, why, I guess I just wanted to see if I could handle it. And of course I couldn't. I drank the whole damn bottle. I had to end up going and getting another bottle from my friend. It wasn't even mine to be drinking. Again, I didn't care. If it was yours, I wanted it. And I do whatever I could to make it right, but I didn't have any accountability at all. So,
So what was like the straw that broke the camel's back? Like what was the thing that made you want to straighten things up?
I would say the last time that I drank, and that was when I had this couldn't keep an apartment, credit shot. Um, Nobody would rent to me in Ohio. Um, I had a steady job. Had a steady job in Ohio, and I was making okay money for somebody that's stationary. But no, I got out of ironwork because I didn't want to get hit in the head with all the child support that was attached to it, and I wanted to see my son grow up. Because I didn't have my dad around a whole lot. You know what I mean? He was either traveling or gone or out, crazy. So I couldn't manage my drinking, had some time off, and took some time off to go camping with my son. And of course, I was on leave. I messed my ankle up. They messed my ankle up, and so I go camping with my son, and I'm drinking the whole time. It's just me and him, and I wrecked my car with him in it, and it was just that was the one right there. When I realized that I didn't care about anything else in my life but me and my unmanageability, and I didn't care because I thought that everything was fine and everything was going to be fine. When I saw that I had hurt him, and it didn't hurt him bad, but it hurt him like like a rash or something on his neck from the seat belt or something. That was the one, because I care about him more than anything in my life, and I couldn't believe that I could go to those lengths to not protect him and not be there for him as a dad. And of course, I knew I was going to be in trouble also because I totaled my truck, and still trying to get out of it. Things all smoking and might as well be on fire. Front end's all bent in, and this lady across the street says, "Are you okay?" And of course, I try to play it off and say it's a deer that ran out in front of me. And then the cops come up, and of course, he sees that I'm drunk. I've been drinking all night, all day. At this point in my drinking, I could not stop. I drank when I woke up. I drank when I went to sleep. I had a beer in my hand 24/7.
And still doing other stuff?
And still doing everything. And still going to the store, going to the grocery store, paying bills.
No, I mean like doing other drugs and stuff.
Oh yeah, doing drugs too. Yeah, if I could do drugs, yeah, if they were there or I could afford them or get them, then yeah, I was doing them. The alcohol always was there.
That was the mainstay for me too.
Yeah, because I mean it was cheap, it was easy to get, it was on every corner, and you didn't have to mess with the dope man,
It was legal.
Yeah, if because how dope mans come up and they go down. Well, I mean that just happens, You can't stay on top forever, but that's just the way it is. Like they move, you know what I mean? So, they won't sell to you. They ain't got this or that. I ain't trying to hear that. I'm gonna go to the store. I'm gonna get me a little bottle or something, and that's gonna make everything right. So that was always a part of my life, man. And once I found those Lime-A-Ritas, when I found the Lime-A-Ritas, was it like 8% alcohol or something? Oh, it was over then, Bob. It was over then. I found those at a company picnic, and I said, "What is that?" And I drank one, and I got a buzz. The bottle was this big. I'm going, I just got a buzz off of that. I'm like, I'm going to get some right now, and I couldn't wait to get them, man. And I started drinking that, and I remember waking up at like 7:00 in the morning, thinking it was 7:00 at night, and I went to go knock on this hothead burrito place, like, why aren't y'all open? Because it's all about me, and I demand you open your facility. And they're like, dude, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. We don't even open till like 11, bro. Go away.
We're just in here prepping.
And I'm going, are you serious right now? And then that dawned on me, and then the other thing dawned on me. This is before that I wrecked my car, my kid in it, but it was that. And it was like when I opened my door, I remember opening my door and saying, I ain't going to jail. I didn't know who was there at the door. They just knocked on the door. And that's the first thing that came out of my mouth. Waking up not knowing where your phone or your wallet and everything is. Mm-hmm. Being on POF, Tinder, being all that, and you know what I mean? And just not knowing anything about, asking them, hey, do you want to get something to eat before we, because they're they're already undressed. It's just
to clarify, we did not meet on POF, but
No,
apparently Jeremy saw my profile and he said that I looked like
mean. She looked mean.
I look mean.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because I know what picture he's talking about.
But man, I think it started getting these little hints, these little thoughts, with the stomach hurting and, having to drink, was it baking soda and water before I drink, having to eat trying to eat healthy or not having anything to eat in the house at all. And still thinking that I could just pay my bills, or if I paid one bill or put them off long enough, then that was good. Then I could, I can go get drunk now, So that was what it's like, man. That was what it was like. I'm grateful that unmanageability is not a part of my life. That type of unmanageability. I'm completely unmanageable today too, but
it's not true. It's not true.
Oh man. So it's just life when you're out there drinking and using, and you just compile situation after situation and don't think about anything else. And I'm grateful that I have a lot of things in my life to be grateful for today, and I don't have to live like that no more. People, places, and things, that's what they tell us, man. You just gotta change it up and do what's asked of you of whoever you're consulting with. So that's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope Jeremy's story shed some light on what it was like to be out there running and gunning, doing the deal. I hope that it helps you, understand your loved ones a little bit better. And what's your life like today?
My life is awesome today. I have a job, and kids, I know where my kids are. They know where their dad's at. There's people that I can call today and ask for help. Mm-hmm. There's people that call and ask me for help.
Yeah. And that's cool to be able to give back,
I've got plants that have lasted more than a year, and I have a dog that's lasted more than a year.
Couple of
them, yeah. And I've got a wife that's lasted more than a year too, so.
Actually, today is 4 years for us, since the day that we started dating. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. It's a good life today.
Yeah, I'm grateful.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
So, please, if you like this video, subscribe down below. If you want to get notifications about these videos, hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, and tune in for the next episode of Tarot is a Mess, possibly featuring Jeremy. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.